And thank you very much. There we go, officially. This meeting is being recorded. Please be advised that your image and voice will be captured and recorded during the video conference. Your participation in this video conference equals consent to be recorded. Anuncio grabado. Esta junta está siendo grabada. Por favor, tenga en cuenta que su imagen y voz serán capturados y grabados durante la videoconferencia. Su participación en esta videoconferencia significa dar consentimiento de ser grabado. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is our agenda for this morning. We have about 3 hours planned. However, if we wrap a bit early, that's okay, but we wanted to give sufficient time to work through our agenda and give the committee plenty of discussion time. We will start with a call to order and a welcome. As I said, I am not Joy, but Joy will join us around the 10:30 mark. We will proceed with a roll call of committee members for the purpose of establishing quorum. We need 5 members to establish a quorum to conduct business. 5 of our appointed members. And we have 2 action items this morning. We have approval of the January 2026 meeting minutes and the March 2026 meeting minutes. Those I believe were emailed to members yesterday. So if you haven't had a chance to look at them, they are quite basic, but please confirm that the attendees and the substance of the minutes are accurate to your recollection, and then we'll vote on those in a moment. We will proceed with an ASWS office update. I will give a general overview of operations at ASWS, followed by the Foreign Labor Certification Program Supervisor, Petra Meraz, who will present some data, statistics, and trends related to Washington's H-2A numbers. And then we'll hear from Susana Rodriguez, who is one of the supervisors of our compliance team regarding our compliance and post-certification activities. Next, we will hand it over to our Workforce Services Division. We'll introduce Tim Propes, who I'm not sure has been introduced to this committee yet. He's the Employment Services Manager at Workforce Services Division, and we will hear from members of his team, Janet Argot, regarding Wagner Pizer services, and then we'll hear from Michelle Griffith, the Eastern Region Operations Manager, that will give this committee an update on the Enterprise Replacement System, as we're referring to as the WIT replacement at ESD, which is set to go live next month. Next, we'll move at 10:45, we'll move to agency updates, specifically the Disaster Unemployment Assistance, or DUA program for eligible persons related to the flood disaster relief earlier this year. Again, we'll talk about the WIT launch. Joy will also talk about other relevant topics. Then we'll move to public comment at 11:40. So if you're here to give public comment, the opportunity will come at the end of the meeting. And then we will adjourn at 12 o'clock or before then if we conduct our business and discussion prior to that. Are there any questions about the agenda? Okay, not seeing any, we will move on to a roll call of members for the purpose of establishing a quorum. Vicki, would you please do the roll call?
Thanks, Bertha. John Devaney.
Good morning, present.
Mike Gempler.
Present.
Delia Pena. Elizabeth Strader.
Present.
Edgar Franks.
Here.
Michelle Besso.
I'm here.
Rosalinda Guillen.
Present.
Jeff Peralt, Caitlin Gates,
I'm here.
and Ignacio Marquez let us know that he was going to be absent today, and Juan Gamez or Jerry Kayard.
Gary's here as proctor.
Thank you. Okay, Bertha, roll call's finished. We have a quorum.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And I know Juan will be with us shortly. So Jerry, thank you for standing in.
Of course.
We will move next. We will move next to our 2 action agenda items. The first is approval of the January 2026 meeting minutes. We do realize that we are in May, and so these are a bit perhaps on the moldy side, but I think we missed them at our March meeting, so we're doing some quality assurance and picking them up now. So I've asked Vicki to share them on the screen. If you reference these meeting minutes on our committee website, the slides that were presented are also attached. But I'll give the committee a moment to review, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve. Is anyone prepared to make a motion to approve?
John Devaney, I move approval of the January minutes.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the January 2026 meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Elizabeth Strader, seconding.
Thank you. We have a second from Elizabeth Strader. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we will do a voice vote. All those in favor to approve the January 2026 meeting minutes, say aye.
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 All those approved, or excuse me, all those opposed, opposed, say nay. Thank you very much. Approval of the meeting minutes passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we will do that again, but this time with the March 2026 meeting minutes. You'll recall that this was a hybrid meeting. This meeting was in person at Maple Park, where many of you attended, and some other of us attended virtually. So we will give, and this was our last gathering of this group. So we will give you some time to look these over, and then I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Mike Kempler, I move to approve the March minutes.
A second.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Rosalinda. We've got a motion to approve made by Mike Kempler, a second by Rosalinda Guillen. Is there any further discussion regarding approval of these minutes? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. It's a voice vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, those are our 2 action items for the day. So thank you everybody for being on time so we can get that business done and out of the way. All right, any questions about the agenda or about our day today before we jump into it? Okay, thank you. And Vicki, I will do my best also to monitor the waiting room to admit people as soon as possible. If you could do the same, please. I don't see anybody waiting in there now. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is a standing agenda item. It's our ASWS office updates. I'm Bertha Clayton, Director of ASWS, and I'm also standing in for Joy for the first part of this meeting as the chairperson for our meeting today. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So the first thing that I wanted to share is the wrap up of program year 2025, the H2A statistics that the Department of Labor has released on their performance page. These have been posted for some time now, but I wanted to show them to you first before we get into reviewing the Q2 data for that DOL just posted for the H2A program. I know it's a bit hard to see on the slide, so the source of the document is noted on the slide. You'll have to go to that page and then find the PY 2025 PDF, but it is one sheet, but for the purposes of this slide, I split it into 2. So when I look at these, things that I specifically look for is the ranking of Washington State nationally in terms of the percentage of total number of positions certified for this program year. And in the last 2 to 3 years, we've been hovering between the 3rd and 4th spot. And in PY 2025, Washington is 4th highest in terms of number of H2A positions certified, with 8.7% of the total number of positions nationally. In PY 2025, according to USDOL's records, we had 34,560 H2A positions certified, meaning certified by USDOL in Washington State. If you look at that same chart, well, actually, to pause and just to kind of highlight, it's common and it's usual that California, Georgia, Florida are states that usually have more positions certified. But as you'll see in the Q2, as far as PY 2026 to date, we have had more positions certified than California. So it could depend obviously in what time of year we're at, but I just wanted to note that please note that so that you can compare it to 6. The other thing I look at is the top 10 occupations, and in mind that in 2025, during this term, the rules had not changed yet regarding the flexibility of the SOC codes and what jobs or duties could be nested under the farm worker, labor, crop nursery, and greenhouse. But you'll see that nationally, and certainly in Washington, that occupation is predominantly the SOC for these H2A jobs. It was 82% of the total number of H2A positions. So I look at that. On the left, you'll see USDOL data regarding the number of applications they received nationally per quarter, and also the percentage change from FY 2024. appears that there was a growth of 9.3% in the program in 2025, year over year from 2024. I also look at the applications process, specifically the timely processing ratio at the bottom of that chart. Usually it does hover between 97 and 98.5%. And processing timely basically means that, that it was processed within the regulatory timeframes. The second half of that sheet is on the right-hand side, and it shows the top 10 employers nationally. You'll see that there are Washington employers in the top 10, including WAFLA, Ag Labor, Zirkle Fruit. This is very helpful. Again, these are released quarterly, and there's also a kind of roundup of the entire year. So if you don't know that these are available, go to that website. They're really informative, and we'll also make a point of sharing them in this meeting as they're released. Any questions about PY 2025? Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is a snapshot into the most recent statistics from USDOL, and I'm sorry that the image on the right, it appears a little blurry on my screen, but focusing on the left here, you'll see that Washington has about 10%, halfway through the program year, Washington has about 10% of the total number of H2A positions certified. Again, the predominant SOC is that farm workers and laborers, crop nursery, and greenhouse. On the right-hand side, you'll see the top employers, and there are, and I'm sorry if that's blurry, but please do go to the website here and pull it up in a PDF for better accessibility. But here we've got some Washington employers on the list again. WAFLA, McDougall Family Farming, Ag Labor, Zirkle, Washington Fruit. So this, again, I just wanted to give you the most recent data. This is usually posted on the website about 30 days after the close of the quarter. Any questions? And when we get to Petra's presentation, she will kind of give you the analysis more granularly regarding Washington State and how we're trending year over year, et cetera. So you'll get more of kind of a specific analysis during her part. And Rosalina, yes, it is blurry. I'm sorry. I'm not sure how that happened, but again, and actually when we send out the slides, I can replace this. We'll send out the slides again, and I'll replace this image with a better quality one.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Any questions about the second quarter of PY 2026? This quarter ended 3/30/2026. Okay, next slide, please. Last week, we received the TEGL regarding the Foreign Labor Certification Grant. Every year, we get notice in the form of a TEGL from the federal government that asks us to provide specific documents about our program, also our budget for the next program year, and also a chart with what the allotment is for each state. This year, our allotment over 2025 is down about 15%. So last year, we received about $704,973. This year, for 2026, our allotment was $597,365. This Foreign Labor Certification Grant funds our Foreign Labor Certification coordinators, so Petra, Olivia, Tamara's positions, and our operations. It also, a large proportion also funds the prevailing wage survey. And so the other thing too that's a little bit unique about this grant is that you've got 3 years to spend it. So right now, like specifically in this program year for us, we are still continuing to spend down the 2024 allocation. I asked budget to provide me with some talking points, our ESD budget analysts, to provide some talking points for me to kind of analyze why maybe our allotment was lower. And I'll share that with you now, because that was obviously that's the first question and the first reaction, like, yikes, our workload is going up. Why is our allotment lower? And Rosalina, let me just read this, pass this through from our budget people, and then I will try my best to answer questions, and if not, refer them to our budget analysts.
All right, thank you.
Yep. The national allocation was flat from FY 2025, and there's a detailed description of the formula that drove state funding distributions in the TEGL. Basically, allocations are largely dependent on the share of the federal FLC workload over the 3 recently completed fiscal years. The TEGL doesn't have workload distribution visibility, so it's not something we can map out in detail. As a reference point, in 2025, Washington received the 8th largest FLC allocation. In 2026, Washington received the 10th largest FLC allocation. Michigan and Kentucky moved ahead of Washington. North Carolina, Florida, and Louisiana received similar size decreases in funding. All 3 received more funding than Washington. Basically, we are in a similar position as some other states who process large amounts of H-2A and H-2B applications. This is not a Washington-specific phenomenon, and I will put that in the chat. Rosalina, go ahead.
You answered my question in that explanation. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, it is. Yes, and happy to share the TEGL. Right now, we're working together with our budget office to do a budget build. Our staffing will remain the same. And as you'll see in our ASWS report draft that will be presented to you in the near future, our overtime expenditures have been massively reduced because of efficiency things that we've introduced, including a case management system, automations, and also making these positions overtime exempt. And so that a full kind of unpacking of those changes will be available to you in the ASWS report draft. But we are not, we're not super concerned about the reduction. Seems to be proportional in other similarly positioned states. The other thing too that is factored into this calculation is the number of H-2B processing volume. We are very heavy in Washington on H-2A. We do have substantial H-2B volume as well, but not as in comparison to states like Florida or North Carolina. And there is a hyperlink to the TEGL if anyone wants to read that or see what other states got. Any questions about this? Okay, excuse me, moving on. So operations and improvements, we wanted to give you an update on things that are happening at ASWS and the more program-specific changes and activities Petra and Susana will cover. But I wanted to give everybody an update on some things that have been pending for a long time And if you recognize some of these issues, it's because you've recommended them to ESD in prior ASWS legislative reports. And one of those, an example of those, is a web page, specifically an ASWS web page. And we are in the process of having one, because and this will be on the new system, but we applied for and I don't think we've been officially approved, but we've applied for, and we're in the process of working with our IT and communications folks to build a ASWS website specific to our work on the main site. We plan to house employer resources on here, worker resources, information about the program, links to our partners, etc. So this is in progress. We don't have a target completion date, as we're just now in the discovery stage, if you will. But this is something that's been pending for a long time. What I'm excited about is that we are in the process of ordering and implementing iPads, tablets in our field work. We've needed these for a long time. We've been paper-based, and we have laptops, we have cell phones, but we're needing to have employers fill out forms. All of our team is remote. So unfortunately, this has meant that in order to have ETAs available, the applications, when we're doing our field work, we've had to go to the local offices, print. That's an expense. And it's also a burden for our team to have to go into the office and do that. So we're working with IT, and we're ordering 8 tablets for each of our compliance staff. And we're really excited about this because I think this is really going to make our work more efficient. All of our forms are fillable. So what this will mean is that they can input data and upload pictures and upload scans and be able to upload them to our SharePoint site instead of having to, kind of go back to the office, do all those things. It makes it much leaner, much more efficient. And so we're excited about this. We're using our FLC grant to pay for this tool, and that has been approved by both our budget office and by the federal project officer, because these are post-certification visits. This is post-certification work, and so it's an eligible FLC grant expense. Next, we're working on employer resources. We are working with our Attorney General's office to produce some approved FAQs or information sheets about topics that are difficult to understand, and there's not much available from USDOL as far as resources, things like productivity standards. Obviously, we're working with our risk department to make sure that we are being responsible about the guidance that we are providing, but we're hoping to have those available soon. You've been hearing about our case management system. This is a SharePoint Dataverse system that was designed and built by one of our own staff members, who is now a management analyst on our team. And because of this, and you'll receive more information in the ASWS report draft, we have been able to create efficiencies that's greatly reduced overtime costs. We've been able to automate processes, emails, automate our coordination intra-divisionally, and we are working on expanding access and functionality outside of ASWS to our partners in Workforce Services Division. You'll hear probably more about that from either Tim or Jenna. But we're excited about this. I plan to nominate this improvement. This was, like I said, this was employee driven, employee managed, and together with Microsoft. And I plan to nominate this project for Washington Innovation Award. So stay tuned. And we're continuing to do staff training. We met in Moses Lake last week, what our compliance team did. And then we are continuing to engage our staff in trainings from USDOL, from our partners. So we're continuously learning, although we've got a little less time for that now since we're well into the season. Any questions about these improvements?
I have a quick question on the employer resources. And I don't know if this is the right place to ask this question, maybe address it later, but in relation to the budget and the way that the funding is being spent, what is the the balance between what's being spent on workforce and local workers being hired versus and those resources for workers versus resources for employers? Does that show somewhere?
So I can only speak for ASWS, and I would say that, we have an equal duty to in assistance stage 2A employers as we do to educating and assisting domestic and foreign workers. So we're always at ASWS, we're always working towards those two goals and those two obligations. But as far as like tracking staff time regarding resources targeted at one audience to another, we're not currently doing that, I think, in an intentional way. Perhaps workforce services, when it's their time, or even if they would like to speak up now, can talk about their processes, but we're not tracking that, I guess, intentionally at ASWS.
And I can help respond on workforce services side. Hello, Alberto Isordia for Workforce Services. And similarly to what Bertha stated, we have an obligation to serve employers, but we currently don't track how much resources are devoted to serving employers versus serving job seekers. We have various programs that we run. I think the one that we most commonly speak about in this committee is Wagner Pizer, and that's a resource that's intended to serve both employers and job seekers. We track, our efforts associated with that funding, but we don't break it down to that level to see how much are we spending on job seekers versus employers. So welcome that feedback from the committee, but yeah, unfortunately at this time we don't track it in that way.
So, I mean, ideally for worker representatives, overall understanding what are the resources being used for H-2A workers, for domestic workers, and for employers. I mean, that would be a really clear picture, right? So that as we advocate further, we would have a base to start with about where do we need more, and ask questions about what are they being used for in each area. Because we would like to be able to explain that to what you just said. If we went to a group of workers and said they have a duty and they're to spend resources equitably and we believe they're doing that, I can't say that, and they're going to say, well, that's not how we feel, that's not what we see. So if we had something, it would be really helpful also for ourselves to be able to continue to build that trust. But I don't know, I guess. I mean, we have to try to, what we're doing on our end is trying to figure it out ourselves. And I don't think this committee was created for that. It was created so that we can collectively, all of us, figure out the resources being used, how the laws are being enforced, et cetera, et cetera. So I know it's a lot to ask, but I guess I'm asking.
I appreciate that. And, as I think about your question, And in our workforce services update, one of our subject matter experts, Michelle Griffith, will be talking about some updates to WorkSource SWA. We have two major changes coming in June tied to our WorkSource SWA website that Michelle will talk about, one of our subject matter experts, and our internal case management system, which we're happy to come to a future committee meeting to talk more about. But I am very excited from a data perspective what that system's going to be able to do for us post go launch. And while we currently may not be able to give you a breakdown of how we spend the funds, certainly something we'll take under advisement. I think we'll be in a better position to speak to how many job seekers, how many farmers, how many employers we serve, what type of services we deliver. I think we're going to have more capability to capture data than we've had previously. And I'd welcome taking that as an action item and coming back and briefing you in the future. So at least from a performance perspective, we might be able to give you more much quicker. And so I'd be happy to take that as an action item.
Thank you. It's a good start.
Yeah, and on the ASWS side, we'll once we draft our budget and our program description for the last 2 years, I think probably a lot of those things will become clearer. So I'm hoping the report will do some of what you're describing. Thank you, Alberto. Okay, next slide, please. Other thing that I want to report on is how we are coordinating with others, federal partner communication, state partner communication, and also intra-agency, meaning between ASWS, we're in the policy division, and workforce services division, which is where the MSFW program is housed. So on a federal perspective, this has continued to be strong. We had, I think, some inconsistent communication with USDOL Wage and Hour and OFLC, Office of Foreign Labor Certification, during the shutdowns. There was meetings that they had to cancel because they, were not online, et cetera. But I would say in the last 8 weeks or so, that's kind of come back to normal. We meet with Wage and Hour Division, with the regional director and the outreach coordinator once every other week. And we use that time to discuss the status of cases that we have referred to them, and also to learn what trends, what things they're prioritizing. It's a really good time to share things that we think that they should be keeping an eye on. And so that's been quite good. We do the same thing with the Office of Foreign Labor Certification. We meet with their West Coast analyst team once every other week, and we use that time to talk about specific cases again, also any interpretations that we need from them, and just making sure that we're aligned with their expectations and what they are expecting us to do. The other thing that my team has started, our FLC team, is a cohort of West Coast states that meet. We meet as we call it our SWA call, and we all know one another and been working with each other for a long time, and we use that time to talk about what's happening in Idaho, or what they're doing in Arizona, or how California is managing something. And so that's been really valuable, and it's been nice to kind of build a coalition so that if we have questions, from OFLC, they tend to get a little bit more attention when they're being asked by a group of states. Go ahead, Rosalina. Leading that.
So I have a lot of questions.
No, fine. Thank you.
So my question was going to be on the federal partner communications. These are all new. Are these all new staff, new folks after the Trump administration was inaugurated? So you've had to build relationships with a whole new group of federal partners?
So on our side, not really. And
Okay.
I'll talk about why I say that. On the state monitor advocate side, and I know Art is on, and maybe he can comment on this. Yes, there was a bit of a kind of a kind of a flight, I think, I guess, of people that we've worked with for years and years that took advantage of the buyout option. So that I think that's been a little bit more new, but as far as from us, you know, many of you know Tom Silva. He's been the regional director for many years for Wage Now. We've always had a very good relationship with him. It's him and Stephen Yim who replaced Sheila. I can't remember her last name, but she was in the outreach position out of the Seattle office for years and years. So that's been pretty constant throughout the administration change, et cetera. Also on the OFLC side, it's the same people that we've been collaborating with, working with. I think there's been very little change in leadership at OFLC. And so that's been it's been pretty consistent. We've asked our, you know, we on very good we have very kind of close relationships, and then we've asked if the change in the USDOL secretary has impacted their operations or has impacted their priorities. And so far, according to them, there's not been a change. Michelle, go ahead.
Well, I had another really quick question. Could you name the cohort of the Western states really quick?
Petra, I don't want to miss anybody. It's Alaska, Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona, Colorado, Idaho. I'm missing one.
Good morning. No, you got them all.
Okay. And it's not like a official coalition. It's just a cohort that we brought together, and now we meet every month. Yes, ma'am, Michelle.
Yeah, thanks. No, and I think that sounds like a really a good idea to be more, you know, in tune with what's happening elsewhere, right? Because the trends tend to be consistent. My question was about Washington, about the wage and hour, and what you can share with us. I have to say, my sense is that they really don't have a presence right now in Eastern Washington and agriculture. It feels like we're not getting a response on complaints made. So I'm really curious as to what you can tell us about what you understand of what they're able to respond to and what their plan is for enforcing the law in agriculture.
Yeah, so thank you for asking that, because when Dan Seitland was here, that's something that he always wanted me to kind of get a sense of regularly and report, you know, just so that he could kind of tune in the governor's office, et cetera. And and this is information that Tom Silva has given us permission to share. Last year, there was a hiring freeze, and I think I think at one time maybe they had 8 investigators in their region, which is Alaska and Washington. And I think, yeah, just Alaska and Washington. And I think that they lost 6 investigators, and they were in the process of hiring more, but then the federal government, you know, didn't have clearance to hire those. And so they were very, very bare bones for quite some time. Now their model is that the investigators aren't remote located. They have to report to the office, to the Seattle office, at least once per week. And so I think that has impacted their recruitment efforts. But my understanding as recently as 2 weeks ago is that Tom has been given clearance to hire investigators. So I think there is going to be more that hopefully will be investigating, and they will be doing case investigation in Alaska and Washington. But Michelle, they are still our process regarding referring complaints, following up with them. that's remained unchanged, and also the priority of agriculture has remained, still remains a priority. I was worried about that when there was a change in secretary, but so far there hasn't been any communication according to them regarding.
No, it sounds, I guess what I'm curious about is what have you been able to find? I know that that's the main place that your ASWS compliance folks can refer complaints that have to do with the H2A program. And there have been a significant number of complaints, and I just wonder, has there been any response? Have there been any resolutions or investigations? What can we expect? I mean, when I talk to workers, I want to understand what can we say to them? Like, is it worth filing a complaint? I mean, basically, the bottom line is if you file a complaint and it gets sent to Wage and Hour, what is your expectation? I mean, I know you meet with them regularly, but are they getting any progress?
Well, for example, we just and Susanna can talk about this more too, but we just referred a complaint to them, I think on a Thursday, and by Friday, the worker had gotten a call from Wage and Hour interviewing them, and so I mean that's pretty good response time, and the status that we get from them regarding the progress of complaints isn't I mean it's not detailed. It's yep, we're still investigating, we've started an investigation on that, where sometimes it is usual that they will ask if our staff can join them in going out on the being on site or helping interview a worker, getting a hold of a worker. We cooperate with them like that very, very regularly. But as far as the most recent example, that was probably only 2 weeks ago. The worker received a call the next day. So I think, I mean, I can't speak for any referrals that don't come from us, but our experience.
No, thank you. That's helpful. But I mean, we know from your reports that there have been a significant number reported. Like, let's say the last year, if your unit sent, I don't know, 10 complaints to WHD. I'm just coming up with that number, but have any of them been investigated?
According to them, they investigate each one.
Okay. No, that's very helpful. I don't have that sense, and so I'm we a couple times have been referred complaints, and when I send a FOIA to DOL, they say there's no ongoing investigation. And so I've been really concerned that
we've all of our complaints, and I can only speak to our process, but all of our complaints are emailed directly to Tom and to Stephen. And so I don't know if that's how they've told us that they want to intake complaints from us. So I don't know if it's different for other agencies or members of the public, but that's been our process.
So there's no like follow-up response about what happened, what was the final decision on the complaint?
There is, but
okay.
You have to wait quite a long time for it. Just to remind everybody, Harvest Plus, we started that case in 2022. We didn't get the final determination until 2025.
Wow. Okay.
But your sense when you meet with them is that they are investigating, they have opened investigations.
Yeah.
On the
yes.
Okay.
I can only, like now speaking only from our observations about the specific cases that we refer to them and that we follow up on every 2 weeks. Yes, there is their regular action to the extent that they can tell us without, they can't give us many details, but there is a status every single time we meet with them, even if it's just we're still working on it.
Okay, thank you. And do you have a sense at all, by the way, that they'll make any, I know they have such a tiny number, but any presence, like are they making any visits or any, to Washington?
From an investigation standpoint, their investigators are based in Washington and they report to the Seattle office. As far as outreach, they've proactively reached out to us and said, is there any outreach that we can participate in. We want to talk about MISPA, or we want to talk about minors, or we want to talk about human trafficking. So we haven't had any opportunities to collaborate with them on kind of a more general kind of community outreach sense. But my understanding is that they do have funding and authority, or funding and, I guess, permission to conduct those types of activities and travel. They were I think they were in a travel freeze for a while, but now that's lightened, I think.
Thank you.
So state partner coordination, we continue to coordinate with our state partners, and we're really grateful for them. We were just on a very productive meeting with DOH yesterday, working through, just working through different facilities and making sure that everybody is on the same page about the status of those facilities. So that's been going really great. I think that at least since we've last met as a committee, the coordination that we've really invested the most time in has been intra-agency coordination with ESD. As you heard last year, a position was funded in the decision package in 2025 to fund Jenna's position and Chelsea's position. You'll hear from Jenna in a bit. And that's really been the link between ASWS and the Wagner-Peiser program. I know Ricardo's also on. So we have been focusing on like protocol and policy as to how we're going to share information, particularly as it pertains to referrals and referral outcomes and data regarding hiring. So that since I've been at ESD, this is, I think, the most meaningful intra-agency engagement that we've had, and it's been very productive. And so I'll let Tim talk about that during his section. But thank you, because we've really enjoyed building that relationship. Next slide, please. And that is it for me. Thank you very much. I will now pass it to Petra Meraz, who will talk to us about some H2A statistics in our state.
Thank you, Bertha. Good morning, everyone. My name is Petra Meraz. I am the Foreign Labor Coordinator Supervisor, and today I'll be presenting H2A data for the program year 2026 from October 1st, 2025 through April 30th, 2026. Next slide, please. Thank you. And on your screen, you can see the data that we have received up to April 30th, 2026. We have a total of 264 applications with 35,314 workers requested for those applications. 234 have been certified by Department of Labor, which means that these applications have been approved and the employer met all their requirements to move forward to move their application to USCIS. Those applications have workers requested and approved of 31,011 workers. DOL has denied 2 of those applications with 3 workers requested. This means that the employer failed to meet 1 or more requirements for the H2A rules. 1 contract has been impossibility. This means that the job order is not possible to continue as a full certification. There could be issues as natural disasters or any weather issues for that application with 30 workers requested. We also had 1 application that was partially certified by Department of Labor with 96 workers requested. And an example could be that the employer, DOL approved this employer for a fewer workers than requested, a shorter period of time, or there was a modification to the application, but the employer is not getting everything that they had asked for. 14 of those applications, we FLC are still working on those applications before DOL can certify, with 848 workers requested for those applications. And 12 of those 264 applications have been withdrawn by the employer. This means that those applications were voluntarily pulled back from the flag system from the employer, with 3,326 workers requested for those applications. Next slide, please. And on your slide, you can see the number of H2A applications and workers requested by the applicant holding offices. This means that Central Basin have received 71 applications out of the 264, with 15,732 workers requested, and followed by Yakima with 32 applications with 5,379 workers requested. And you may see the list down, and we can go all the way down to Pierce County, which they have 5 applications requested with 124 workers requested. Next slide, please. And the number of active contracts and workers by AHOs, by the applicant holding offices, out of the 264 applications that I mentioned that we have received, 164 job orders are open and active. That means that 19,876 workers were certified, and they are working in Washington. And this is the end of my slide. I also wanted to mention that last year, this time we had received 376 applications for 30,443 workers requested. As you saw in the second slide, we have received 264 applications this year. So that means we have 112 applications less that we received from last year, but we have 4,871 more workers requested this year. And there are a few factors that we believe that may influence by the AWAR, which is the adverse effect wage rate, the AWAR methodology, and the other reason why there's an influence on a different amount of applications. It's because employers are now able to stagger workers in one application. So this means that in one application, employer can put different dates of bringing workers. So those are the reasons that we believe that we have received less applications than last year. And this is all my information I have for you guys. Any questions? Thank you so much, Susana.
Can you guys hear me? And can you see me? Yes, thumbs up.
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Petra, for that presentation. Hello. Thank you, Rosalinda, for your thumbs up. So I'm Susana Rodriguez, and I'm one of the compliance supervisors. So I just gonna quickly review the data that the compliance team has been doing. So we can go to the next slide. So this is the report from October 1st through April 30th. So as of right now, the team have done 177 site visits, and we have been able to connect with 8,028 workers. And as you can see below, we kind of break down that way you see where it is heavily, how they are distributed the workers in the site location. This pretty much align a lot what Petra just reported. There's a lot of them in the Central Basin area, and it trickles down to Yakima, Sunnyside, Wenatchee, and it goes down through the other counties. All right. Do you guys have any questions regarding this slide?
Susanna, I just have a question. I wondered, because you go out pretty soon after the beginning of the contract, have there been delays in arrival of H2A workers, or has that been, or are people being able to get here on time?
That's a good question, Michelle. We have seen a small number of delays, especially because of the visa process, especially the border. That's what we noticed that. But when we identify that some workers have been delayed, or maybe the whole group doesn't arrive, the team goes back and try to connect with that group later on. But yes, we have seen some cases regarding that issue. John?
Susanna, we talked a minute ago about staggered contracts. For site visits, do you schedule those for after all the expected workers arrive, or do you go multiple times if there are going to be different cohorts of workers on the same contract?
That is a good question, John. So then we try to go every group. However, we also trying to work with the employer, right? Because we do understand, like sometimes because of the season is being busier, we try to accommodate to an extent, but our priority is try to go to each group, try to contact all the workers. That way they have our business cards and they connect with us. So that's our priority. Did I
Right.
answer
So
your question?
we might expect to see the total number of site visits for the year exceed the number of contracts as a result if you're going more than once.
Yes. Thank you, Berta.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, because I know probably you don't have it memorized, and I was reviewing the slides. Petra recorded in her contract in Central Basin. Right now is less number than the ones in our site visits. We have 52. I think she has 40 something. But then it's because we have to go in one contract, there's 3 groups that we have to go, or 4 groups. So that's why our numbers are gonna be a little bit different. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? No, we're good. Perfect. So we can go to the next one. All right. So then as of April 30th, we have done 5 field checks. And remember, like the field checks are triggered because domestic workers are being connected to the contracts, to the H2A contracts. We've been very busy. We have more to come. So next report period, you're gonna see more. So I'm excited because domestic workers are more in the know. The contracts are coming, who to go to. They're going to the work source. So I'm very excited about this. But these are the numbers as of April 30th. And I don't see any hands up, so we can go. I think I have one more. Oh, I have 2 more. One more. The next one. Yes. So this is the breakdown regarding complaints. As we have received 57 complaints. Out of that, 44 have been informally resolved, and only 13 have been referred to other agencies. And then on the right side, you can see how is that breaking down. There's like 32 that falls under the other bucket, and it's breaking down. The worker recruitment seems to be the most common. Then is worker termination, supervisor misconduct, staggering, and no breaks. And then we see wage related. We got like 10 of them, discrimination 9, health and safety 3 of them, housing, human trafficking, and sexual harassment. Do you guys have any questions regarding this data that we are presenting regarding complaints?
Well, I do, Susanna. It's just I am curious about the worker recruitment. We're really hearing a lot out in the community about workers having trouble finding work, and that in many places they at least feel that some of it is the H2A workers arriving and that they're not being offered employment. And so I just wondered if you can say anything more about what you're finding with these worker recruitment complaints or how they've been resolved, whether you've been able to get people employed or how are they being generally resolved?
Yeah, that is a good question, Michelle. Oh, did I hear
I
another
want,
voice?
yeah, it's Rosalinda. I want to agree with Michelle. We're hearing a lot from workers coming to talk to us about going back to the farms they used to work for in Skagit and Whatcom and being displaced. So I mean, I think that there's a lot more happening locally, at least where we're at, and there's still fear of workers complaining and taking action for being displaced from their jobs. So this whole worker recruitment issue is growing, and it's affecting the community a lot. But there's fear about retaliation for saying anything about it, retaliation and blacklisting by other farmers.
Thank you for your input. So then based on what I'm hearing, so then do you agree that based on our data that the highest the highest topic is worker recruitment, because that's what we're seeing. That's what we're getting as well.
Yes, and these numbers are low, in my opinion.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah, so let's address, correct. So the worker recruitment, when a domestic worker is referred, remember, like the domestic workers, if it comes through the work source, if it's referred and they're connected to the H2A contract, and for some reason there's a gap, they're not able to contact the employer, or the employer provided misguided information, then we get a complaint. And then our compliance specialist will go and provide that education piece to the employer, about assurances. Like they have to hire somebody who's willing, able, and qualified. So but we do track it in here. So that's what we've been able to successfully inform the employer, like if there's an apparent violation, they need to fix it, how to go about that. So then that has been good. Regarding the low number, I don't know if Bertha can help me, but this is pretty much what we get into the work source office. So we don't get I mean, Bertha, you able to see or to say regarding the number, perhaps?
I mean, I understand it's like that the number, I'm saying the number is low because it's difficult for workers to complain. That's why I said the fear factor. So I think it's happening a lot more than we're able to document, and we're trying really hard to get that documentation real for everybody. And I just want to say that especially in Wacom and Skagit, the work source folks, Michael Ahrens and Yasmin, I think is her name, they're doing an excellent work, and we're trying to use their their skills and work with them to get the workers to complain. So we appreciate that, and this is why I'm saying I think we're going to keep trying, but hopefully I think the reality is that it's higher than that. And I know it's not you can only report what you're seeing and you're getting in EST. So I understand that.
Yes, Rosalinda. Sorry, Bertha, you have something to add on?
Just something to add. So we do receive third-party complaints. And so usually those are treated as apparent violations. Which means that we don't have a specific complainant, but we do have reason to believe that there's a issue happening, and there are things that we can do. And so please, I don't have knowledge of receiving any. We actually just talked about this last week. I don't have knowledge of really receiving a lot of third-party complaints. So usually it's people calling us directly, or us, or getting them from the work source offices. But please, when you hear those issues, please contact us, because it's likely that if you're hearing that issue regarding an employer, we've already heard it from someone else. And so we need that data, and we need that information so that we can work within our processes to help right that wrong.
Thank you, Bertha. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
Thank you, Rosalinda. Yes, so you have the information on what is happening, where is happening, that we can address it. And then to follow up on that, we are meeting, like Bertha said earlier, with other agencies. We're meeting with community relations to see what they're hearing, because they heavily do outreach to identify partners in the regions and with employers. That way we can provide that educational piece. We're meeting with other agencies as well to see how we can support each other, what they be hearing. So we're trying to do some proactive, and then see what's going on in the community. All right. So I don't see more hands up, and then go to the next one. See, this is my last slide. So yeah, so then this is the numbers reported. This is the data collection data. And this is, remember, the data that we just get is from employers, and we only input this, and this is how it's presented, this raw data. So total numbers of workers requested is 18,676. Total workers received is 8,968. And if you see in the lower section, 81% of that data received, it does match regarding number of workers requested. In the middle section, you see 93%, it is matching regarding the housing location. And then 97% is matching the work site location. And this is the only, the data collection, the report time frame is just a little bit different. It's from January 1st to March 31st. So just FYI regarding that.
Why is you have a no in the worksite locations matching? So 3% do not match, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, thank you. Well, I'm just wondering, I know that's a low percentage, but is that because they were listed in the applications, but then the workers are working somewhere else other than where they were listed in the application?
Good question. Not necessarily. That could be one, but for the most part, the team has seen that the employer does a typo. It's missing a number, and that's what we notice. That's what is low. That's what we've seen for the most part. However, potentially, Rosalinda, we could see, and then, but for the most part, that will be it's a typo. It's a typo issue by the employer because they're in a rush, and then. But our job is just to collect the data and enter this. But I'm really happy that this 3% is very low. You are correct.
I guess I mean, it's great that it's low, but these worksite locations, there could be it could be problematic if the workers are working in a location that nobody knows where they're at, I guess. I mean, ideally 100%, right? Because of fires or any other kind of issues that might come up where workers could be in some kind of danger. That's the only. I'm just gonna keep bringing that up because we don't want anybody hurt.
That's what you're here for, Rosalinda. So yeah, I agree. So that's what you're here to like keeping us the eye, right? To something that to keeping us aware. But yeah, but these are the numbers. Like I said, it's raw data. And then I think that is my last slide. I don't see any more questions or comments. So thank you, everybody.
And just to putting my chairperson hat on, we are running a little behind on our agenda, but I think that's okay because we were generous in budgeting our last few topics. So Tim, don't feel like you need to rush.
Thank you, Bertha, and thank you, Susanna, too. So committee members, it's a pleasure to be presenting for you today. Both Jenna and I have been introduced to you before, and we're going to introduce Michelle Griffith in a moment. I'm Tim Probst. I'm the Employment Services and Economic Inclusion Manager. So I work for Alberto, and I am overseeing the Wagner-Pizer program, which has the migrant and seasonal farm workers, as well as labor exchange and employer services, and also all of the veterans programs. So it's a pretty awesome job, and I'm lucky to have it. I'd like to ask Jenna Argott to go ahead and introduce herself, and then Michelle Griffith as well. Go ahead, Jenna.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna Argott, and I oversee the migrant seasonal farm worker outreach and the applicant holding offices that process the job orders and do the recruitment. I've been with the agency. We're going on 4 years, if I calculate that right. And previously in my role, I was working as a workforce specialist out of the Mason County area, supporting the office as a part-time outreach. So I've been able to see that growth, and I'm very happy to be here.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Hey, thanks, Tim. Hi, all. My name is Michelle Griffith. I'm Eastern Region Operations Manager for Employment Security Department. So I'm parked all the way over here in Spokane, Washington. But a little bit more about me. I actually grew up in Yakima, surrounded by agriculture. I'm part of an ag family. My grandfather had a small orchard in Zilla. And so my summers were spent getting up at 3 a.m. to beat the heat during cherry season. So really appreciate and value the work that this committee is doing to further this industry in our state. And I'll pass it back to Tim and talk with you all in just a little bit.
Thank you so much. And we're ready to go to the next slide then. So these are just some pictures of more recent outreach events. You'll remember from our last meeting, Luis and Saul were here and presented to you their work. The thing that I find amazing about Luis and Saul and all the folks doing this work is not only their experience and competence, but the heart and respect and commitment that they bring to it. I find it very inspiring. And so you'll be hearing from Michelle more after the performance slides about, Michelle will be talking about our WorkSource WA modernization too. And you're just going to see the same thing. Michelle, like, it's just been such a pleasure working with you because you're in this for all the right reasons and you're really good at it. So it's pretty fantastic working with this group of people. Let's go ahead, and Jenna's got the next slide.
Yeah, so here is the migrant seasonal farm work outreach performance for all of our office, so part-time and full-time. So for comparison, we have 2024 in our current program year of 2025. So our FTEs still remain the same, and the total outreach days is 1,180. And then the total number of migrant seasonal farm workers contacted is 17,011.
Thanks, Jenna. And I've got the next one, please. So these are the complaints, and we've had 102 complaints this year through April 30th. The number of apparent violations so far is 4. 96 are referred, and 13 have been resolved. Next one.
So on this next one, this is allegations of complaints from the migrant seasonal farm workers. So 9 were health and safety, 6 were discrimination, 93 were wage related, and 4 are marked as other. Any questions?
Why is it an allegation? So
allegations, this is, folks that might not want their name being on the complaint. And you're right. I'm trying to look at that.
It's actually a good point that the title should probably just be complaints from MSFWs, not allegations of complaints.
Right, because some were resolved, right? So
yeah, and they're all actual complaints. So
yeah, okay.
Let's take allegation of off of that title going forward, please.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Rosalinda, for pointing that out.
Yeah. Okay, I've got the next one.
Do we have the other, a breakdown of what were the other?
So for the other. Yeah, so for the other, they've been, so if the customer came in with a complaint, they had something so wage related, but an other concerned. One of them was, from what I remember, their vehicle was in the way of like spraying and they weren't told to move it. So they had a complaint about that. The other one was they had concerns of other activities that were happening at work.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And please do jump in with questions as we're going. So this one is the domestic workers who are contacted by full-time outreach offices. I find this pretty interesting. We were having a discussion with Oregon recently, and they were saying, have you had more trouble reaching our workers because of the changes that have been happening in immigration enforcement and so forth? And Oregon indicated they've been having some trouble with that. We're going to have another conversation with Oregon about that this week. It's interesting here to see that if you look at the numbers through April, which are the blue bars, in some cases, it looks like they're going to exceed next year. And in other cases, it looks pretty close to next year for 10 months compared to 12 months. And so our outreach folks are really doubling down and getting out there where the workers are and making sure that they know about their rights to work at H-2A farmers and sites as well. And also, the services available at WorkSource and the other jobs available too. So our outreach, despite facing some headwinds, is staying, I guess I would say, pretty level or close. And then Jenna has the next two here.
Oh, wait, I don't see Whatcom or Skagit in this chart.
Yeah, these are the current year full-time outreach offices.
Okay.
So Whatcom and Skagit, you're going to see the regional numbers coming up, but Whatcom and Skagit are not offices that have a full-time outreach individual. These are the 6 offices with the most significant agricultural presence, and so these 6 have a full-time outreach individual.
So let me just understand then. Yasmin and Skagit and Michael Aarons and Whatcom, they're not full-time, or is their position different than this?
So I can't speak to those exact individuals, but those offices do not have full-time outreach. And so people are doing outreach, but they're doing other work as well. So they're part-time outreach.
Well, I just don't like that. I want them full-time.
I would love to be able to have full-time outreach in every WorkSource office across the state. We do have everybody doing some outreach, but we only have the funding for full-time outreach in the what DOL calls ag significant offices, and that's these 6.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I just want it on the record. I don't like.
Yeah. Rosalinda, I couldn't agree more with you. This is an important aspect of our work, and if we had full-time outreach all across the state, that would be helpful. The funding isn't there for it from the federal level, and so that's where we end up prioritizing.
Thanks for that. I guess I'm just trying to figure out. I don't know. There'll be opportunities, I'm assuming, for more discussion on that at some.
Definitely, absolutely, yeah.
Great.
Any other questions on that one? Okay, go ahead, Jenna.
So here are the migrant seasonal farm workers served by region. So we have a central, taking lead, and then we have it divided with Eastern, Southwest Coastal, North Sound, and Central Sound. And so we have our 3 years comparison from 2023 to 2024, and then our last program year of 2024 to 2025, and then our current year of 2025 to 2026, coming into April 2026. Any questions? Okay, next slide, please. So these are migrant seasonal farm workers served by full-time outreach offices. So here, once again, we're mentioning our 6 full-time offices, and then the remaining all combined. So Sunnyside, Central Basin, Yakima, Wenatchee, Okanagan, and Columbia Basin. As we see, Sunnyside has shown significant growth. And then we have our remaining offices as well, showing good growth.
This one I consider a little hopeful if I'm careful about it, because the number being reached through outreach is remaining about steady, right? But in some areas here, we have the ones who are engaged and getting served by outreach offices even going up. And that's nice to see. I'd like to see it going up in every area. But especially when you consider that this is showing just the 10 months out of 12 for that green bar. It's not bad. I'm not saying we don't have room for improvement, but the folks like Saul and Luis out there who are doing that outreach are reaching people and getting them in for service as well. And I'm happy to see that.
So I'm just going to ask this question. Is it possible for you to show the numbers from the part-time MSWs are the work that they're doing? even though they're not full-time?
We can get that by office. It's all lumped together on the right-hand side as remaining offices, right? And so those are the remaining offices across the state who have less ag industry presence. But that's the combined bars. So we can look into Whatcom and Skagit individually, as well as each of the other offices too. But they're much lower volume than the high volume offices. You know, the first 6 shown here. You're seeing the combined approach there at the end, at the
Right, thank you.
far right of this. Yeah.
Yeah, and
yeah.
I just
Good question. Yeah.
I just want to say that if you start out when there's a lower volume, then you establish a practice that will affect the future, right?
Yeah.
Of how workers are reached in these areas.
Yeah, I think that's totally valid. I mean, what I'm seeing here on the remaining offices is holding about steady with the last 2 years, although that green bar on the far right is only 10 months. So that might end up a little higher than the other 2 years. But that doesn't mean, good, let's pat ourselves on the back and move on, right? We have to continue improving and reaching more people, because we know the amount of people we're reaching is far smaller than the amount of people that need to be reached with this. Any other questions on this one? All right, let's go to the next one. So a couple changes to share, and then Michelle's going to tell you more about the WorkSource WA modernization, which is pretty cool too. But we've got our MSFW summit coming up at Central Basin over in Moses Lake on June 17th and 18th. 6 months ago, we had a virtual summit, but this is going to be an in-person summit. And so we had in-person summits before that as well. Did virtual for one time. Now we're coming back together for in-person. So this is the MSFW staff and allies that we work with getting together for 2 full days for information sharing and training. And the LNI thank you here, I want to call out Caitlin Gates. Thank you so much for setting up our meeting with Brian Temple and others, along with Laura Wood over at Central Basin and Saul Montalvo and others. That was, I just want the advisory committee to know, that was LNI and several different pieces of ESD talking about the complaint process, what happens when a complaint goes over to LNI, what takes time. I was especially impressed with how thoroughly LNI delves into each complaint. I also was understanding after the meeting. I wasn't as understanding before the meeting, but after the meeting, I understood, okay, there are a lot of appeals processes and protections built into the complaint process. So it takes a long time. And I know that LNI and ESD wishes complaints could get resolved faster, but it's a true legal investigation with a lot of appeals processes along the way. But the commitment of Brian Temple and his team was really impressive, and the fact that they're very cognizant of whether an employer has had a couple or one complaint, or whether an employer has had a lot of complaints in a pattern, and they note that and they treat those situations differently and appropriately. And I thought that was really helpful. We also decided that we would be bringing together our teams on a regular basis to keep sharing more information across LNI and ESD. So Caitlin, thanks for opening that door for us. It was a really great meeting.
Tim, I just want to say I really appreciate it. Sounds like there's really been a focus on the MSFW and on really building the outreach effort. And it's something we had talked about a few years ago and kind of acknowledged the need to support it more. And so really appreciate this report. Thank you.
Yeah, when I went back and read if you don't mind me reflecting for a second, Michelle, when I went back and read the legislative report and the recommendations that came out of the legislative report last time, we've come a long way from there. We have a long way to go too. We still have a lot of improvements to make, but the cross communication and the development of tools and training is really helpful. And we are starting to get to a place where, again, I don't want to be overly rose-colored glasses here, but we're starting to get to a place where I'm feeling like, hey, this is beginning to look like a system. And it should, because this is important work. So thanks for recognizing that, Michelle.
So thank you, Tim. I just want to say that there's so much work that needs to get done to really have equity for farm workers in the state of Washington at many levels.
Yep.
And it'll be nice when we, what can I say, when that equity is there and we don't have to keep removing rose-colored glasses from state agencies. So we will never let you do that. I just want to say that.
I hope not. No, this is far too important to just think we're doing good enough. We have to do an excellent job. That's my commitment. Yeah. Let's go on to Michelle then.
Right. Well, thank you, Tim, for passing it over. Hello again, everybody. As shared earlier, I'm Michelle Griffith. I'm the Regional Operations Manager with ESD, all the way over here in Spokane. I do just want to note that although we are not the #1 area, we are a close second to Central Region and do a lot of work over here in Eastern Washington. So today, as Tim shared, I'm here to talk about an upcoming change to the WorkSourceWA.com site and how we're preparing to support our employer customers through that process change. Part of my role, in addition to my regular hat that I wear, is to serve on the project team as a lead development partner. So I've been immersed in that work since the beginning, all the way back to the RFP process. And over the years, I've learned quite a bit, but I don't know everything. So as we get to a point in time when we're asking questions, there might be a few that I need to take back and then circle back with this group. But with that, let's move on to the next slide, please. Alrighty. So before I dig into what's changing, I'd like to spend a moment talking about why the system is being updated overall. So as you all know, our statewide case management system is getting an overhaul and will be fully replaced. This is really exciting, and it's an update for our, not only our WorkSource system staff, who include our MSFW outreach staff, because they use this case management system to record all of the important services they deliver to both the agricultural employers and the farm workers, right? So they're really thrilled that this new system will make their lives a bit easier in terms of the work and the way that they process it, and also allow us to tell our story more fully through the data. And we recognize a lot of the work that, with our employers in particular, is really supported by the WorkSourceWA.com site, right? It's the public-facing tool that they have the access to. So in addition to an updated case management system, which serves the internal staff member, the WorkSource WA platform is being modernized to ensure there's going to be a seamless delivery, service delivery for customers that use it as that trusted resource. And so there's a few things that I do want to highlight. It will still be WorkSourceWA.com, so that piece is not changing. It will have a modern design with easier navigation, right? And so that's going to make that more intuitive for the user and hopefully reduce some of that clunkiness. There's also going to be updated resources for employers on that site, which will be incredibly helpful. And so the good news is that most of the new features will be available right away at launch, and more will be layered in over time. And so that's one of those really great things about this project, is we'll have the ability to continue to enhance, improve, and iterate as we learn more and gather that feedback from our customers and the folks that we serve. So let's take a peek at the slide that you're looking at there. Here you see an overview of 3 key employer features and changes. And so the first one is the employer sign up. So this piece will allow for real-time updates between our case management system, which we're calling WA Work, and the WorkSourceWA.com. So some of that information will feed over to us. Employers are going to receive automated confirmation emails. Woohoo! They'll know that things are working. And we have a dedicated virtual services team currently in play right now, but they'll continue to be available along with the local business services reps So that way our employers are well supported. And then this improvement is also going to ensure that within the system, there's not as much duplication or obsolete info. So it'll be updated more real time. So the employers can have the right access to their company's account. The second one that you see here is the job postings. Again, lots of automated email alerts to our users, aka our customers, so that way they know exactly what's going on. They're going to be given a heads up when their posts for employment are expiring, given options to be able to renew that. So again, kind of engaging our customers in a more meaningful way, so that way it doesn't feel like they have to start over every time. The other piece of this is a huge improvement, is that the job postings will stay active for up to 90 days, and which means those postings will be accurate. Instead of having older or obsolete postings, that creates some confusion, right, for both our employers and job seekers that are looking to apply. And then another key change is the ability to manage applications. So again, for our employers, they'll be able to see a list of applicants for each job that they have posted. They'll be able to track and edit those applicant statuses without alerting the applicants themselves. So they'll be able to do that kind of behind the scenes management with some security there for themselves. They also be able to download resumes and cover letters. And this is really going to help our businesses and our employers be able to compare and track applicants with more visibility and more control, right? So it's going to make their process a lot more smoothly, so that way they can get the right person connected to their job. I did drop a link into the PowerPoint so you can get some additional information about the WorkSource WAKI changes there. And it also highlights some of those things that'll be changing for our job seekers as well. So lots of great tools. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide, please. So ESD, through the WorkSource system, alongside our partners, are fully committed to making sure both the employers and the job seekers are supported through this transition. So much like the project itself, we've been committed to a high level of transparency and a lot of tools to make sure that those folks that need to engage with the changes are well supported. So a few things that you can expect from us. There's already a campaign with direct communication, so loads of emails. The website banners are already up with alerts there, helping to notify our customers of those changes. We're leveraging our ESD employer newsletter to communicate out to all of our registered employers. We're also sending direct emails, and so these are weekly emails that are going to all employers with existing WorkSource WA accounts. And then these emails include details and reminders to prepare them for that transition, right? Kind of looking away at the clock there. The WorkSource system staff are being copied on each of those messages. So that means we know what our customers are being messaged about, and we're there to be able to respond to that. So that'll be really helpful. In addition to that, there's instructional content that'll be accessible for folks. Again, tutorials to make sure both our job seekers, but particular employers, know what to expect. And then also this will continue. So that continuation of post go live or when this lands, we want to make sure that those tools and that support continues on. And so we do have our dedicated professionals at WorkSource that will be equipped to answer questions, along with a virtual services team to provide that support. And again, within the slide here, you see a couple of clickable links so you can check out some additional tools. Before I wrap up, I want to give you a quick overview of what we have as our current timeline. And so these are the dates that are key, and you can help amplify within your spheres of influence. But on Thursday, June 4th at 5 p.m., so right around the corner, the current website is going to go offline. After 5 p.m., the website and all accounts will be down, and our visitors to that site will see a message on there that it is temporarily unavailable. And again, that email campaign and the messages will be prepping folks for that in advance. On Tuesday, June 9th, that's when we will see the brand new WorkSourceWA.com. It's going to go live. And one thing that I want to emphasize, specific to our existing employer accounts that's really important, is all of our users with an active employer account will move to the new site. So it'll just automatically and seamlessly go to that new site. An employer account that is active, so this is the definition of employer account that is active. It's if the company has posted a job within the last 5 years, right? So 5 years they've had a posting. If that account is not active on June 4th, then what will happen when the system goes live is they will be prompted to create a new account on the updated website. So again, we will have folks there to be able to support that, but we just are really working hard to get that message out there so nobody is surprised if it's been a moment since they have posted with us about where their information has gone. So I really appreciate the time to connect. I'm not sure if we have time for questions, but I will pass it back to Tim.
Thanks, Michelle.
Just been a little bit on this one because there is a lot to this, and as Michelle noted, we're getting ready to go live the week of June 8th, and she talked about some of the changes to employers. There are impacts to job seekers as well. For example, just one key thing I'm really excited about is our platform becoming much more mobile friendly, right? A lot of our populations use cell phones nowadays, farm workers especially. And so I am excited to see some of that change. So we welcome your questions, as Michelle noted, but also we look forward to coming back to talking more about this change because it is a change not only to our WorkSource WA system, right? Our job site website that's available to the public, but there's also changes to our case management system. And that will impact how we report data in the future, and I'm really excited about that. So with that, I would welcome questions. And Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hard to believe this group doesn't have questions. Thank you very much, Alberto. Thank you to Tim and Michelle and Jenna. I really appreciate your updates. Thank you for all of it so much. Okay, so hi folks. Thank you for tolerating my tardiness. I know Bertha's done a wonderful job in my absence getting the committee going today. Couple updates for you, one of which Michelle just went and stole my thunder because I wanted you to be aware of the WIT go live, but she just explained far more than I had for it and in a way that was going to be much more helpful for you anyway. So that's good news on that. I, again, invite any questions that you do have. Please do feel free to drop them in chat, shout them out, send us a note, and we'll work to get you answers to those. The other key update that I want to provide today is in reference to the floods from last December. You may have seen that the governor held a press conference yesterday morning announcing that in April, there was finally the major disaster declaration was signed, and that brought another tranche of benefits to the state for help. One that I particularly want to call out for you to know about, for you, other farm workers, for the small businesses in the area, is in regard to disaster unemployment assistance. This is a program that is similar to unemployment assistance, but it covers people who are not normally covered by UI. So folks who were self-employed, small business owners, or didn't have enough hours to qualify for regular unemployment benefits, could possibly receive some retroactive benefits from this program. There is information on the screen. The website for this is very simple. It's esd.wa.gov/DUA, D-U-A, to get people into the queue to start applying. There is a deadline that we need to start those applications no later than June 10th. So that's 2 weeks from, take it back, 3 weeks from yesterday. Sorry, doing the math in my head. I think that's right. But even so, the earlier the better. If you could please share that information with your networks, make sure that people have the information on this. And that is one that I wanted to make sure you were aware of. Are there any questions on this? I've dropped the website into the chat where there is more information. All right. Well, I think I'm stepping in right at the tail of the meeting to sort of have all the fun parts. Do the members have anything for the good of the order that they'd like to share? And then we'll go to public comment.
Joy, I have a question if I could.
Uh-huh.
I thank you that you sent the agricultural wage report in the email to the committee. And I had heard in the report that we'd had that only some of it was public information. But when I read through it, I was surprised to see that the actual wage results, that none of it is public, that it's considered confidential. And I guess I was curious under what provision or why has ESD decided that the wage results of that survey are not public information?
That I honestly do not know. I will have to check in with our labor market team and get clarity on that. I will come back and make sure that I have the wording of your question. But if you want to send me an email to make sure I get it exactly right, but I think I know what you're talking about. I can commit to getting an answer for you and getting that to you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it just seems like, there was this big survey done, it was a lot of resources. And it's, all the data, all the information about the process and
Right.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it's individual, basically what the results are would be aggregate results of wages reported. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'll look into that. Are you saying, okay, let me be clear. The information that ESD is saying is confidential is not actually in the report that you received, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because I was worried because that link is out on our public website.
No. It's just that when you go through the report,
Got it.
It's like all
It's not in the report. Understood.
but then there's no, it's like the result. What were the wages that workers reported? And it.
Apologies. I will find out.
Okay, thank you.
I will find out the logic there and we will get some information on that.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, you reminded me of something that I'm going to throw in for good of the order. I had the opportunity, I do try and get out and see how our folks, how their day goes when they're working, whether it be our UI policy folks here and get involved in their discussions, or something else with a monitoring or something like that. And I actually last week got to go visit for an H2A orientation session at Zirkle Farms, and with Alex Mendoza from our team doing the ESD portion of that welcome and making certain that people had their information on the laws and the changes to the laws. And I was just really impressed with, well, kind of all of it. The organization of how it goes, the fact that people are so committed to honoring the workers, and the workers were committed to, I mean, it was interesting. This group was entirely returners, and over half of that group had been returning for 10 years or more. And that was just, that speaks really highly to it. So I know that we deal with challenges and questions of how this works and all that, but being able to see the people that we're serving, both at the farm and the farm workers, was a really cool experience, and I really enjoyed that. So I don't know if Alex is on the call, but really thoroughly enjoyed that.
And were these H2A workers, Joy?
These were H2A workers. That's what I was able to get over there for. So I do know that Rosalinda, I need to get out and see like an actual field visit when we come to visit while folks are working. That is something else I want to try and get in this summer for sure. But yeah.
I was just going to say that we get to see the heartbreak and the despair of farm workers that are losing their jobs because the H2A workers are coming in and displacing them in our communities. So it's really putting all of us in difficult situations. And while I understand what you're saying, at the same time, there's that many workers in the community with families that can no longer sustain them. And it's a huge issue for us. That's why we're on this committee.
Understand.
So it's that balance has to be reached somehow, because right now it's not a fair balance.
I do understand that. I do understand that. And I understand that that's the much of the crux of what we talk about here in this committee. And the reason that I want to more often get out to see this, and Rosalinda should probably come up and visit with you sometime this summer as well and see this, is in part to better understand what we're talking about when we're in this committee. I am by nature a policy wonk. And that tends to put everything on paper or on a computer screen. So I do think it's critical to get those experiences where I'm away from the computer and seeing the impacts of what we're talking about. So, but thank you for that reminder. Okay. Members are still absolutely welcome to speak to the good of the order, but I'm going to go ahead and move to public comment as well. So if you would like to make a public comment, including any suggested future agenda items, please state your name and spell it so we can capture it correctly for the minutes, as well as the organization you represent. Your comments are being recorded. However, if you would like your comments to be included in the meeting minutes, please submit them in writing via email to Vicki Carlson at the address in vickicarlson.esd.wa.gov. And please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Do we have any public comment?
Hello?
Yes.
So my name is Marcos Munoz, Marcos Munoz. And I am the H2A data analyst for community development.
Okay.
I'd like to make public comment because I've noticed some issues with the emails that we receive, ETA 790 and ETA 790A.
Okay.
Not that we're not receiving them, because I've emailed with y'all getting that sorted out, but I've noticed that on ETA 790A there's been less and less information on it, is one of the things, and I was wondering if there was any reason for that, because it used to have the employer, it used to also have the employer name that they were doing business under, and some other information.
Okay.
And recently I've noticed that those are blank. And then another thing that I've noticed is that when we don't receive any of the things or any of the forms from emergency filings, and in looking at the second quarter data, there's, I think it was 11 emergency filings compared to like 190 contracts from in Washington State in Q2. So that's about like 5% of the data that we're not getting.
Okay.
And I think that may skew, it's a small amount, but it may still like lead to gaps in information that we're receiving.
Understand.
And that information does appear on WorkSource later. So that means that even if they are not processed by the ESD is still receiving that information, and WorkSource is still receiving that information. And I wonder if there's a way that those could also be included, or if there's a way that we could receive that information around the same time that we receive the 790s that are processed by the ESD.
Okay, Mr. Munoz, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much for those comments. We're going to take a look at that. I noticed that in the chat, Mr. Devaney has noticed the same issues and brought it to our staff's attention as well. So we will get into that. Thank you very much for your comment.
Thank you.
Sure. I see Ms. Darrow has joined us. Would you like to speak?
Yes, my name is Ian Schaefer Lorenz. I'm stepping in for my colleague Darrow at the moment.
Okay.
Is my audio coming through all right?
It is coming through.
Thank you. My name is spelled Ian. My last name is spelled Schaefer space Lorenz. I'm going to read in a comment to the record today, submitted on behalf of a community member we've contacted. I work as a field organizer for Community to Community. We recently met with Margaret Ballancourt, who is a family community services coordinator at the Linden Public School District. She works with McKinney-Vento students and a foster liaison role and supports students district-wide. And collaborates with colleagues throughout Whatcom County. She has identified in her work a number of concerns related to H-2A visas, particularly around housing for farm worker families. The following comes directly from Margaret. Her first concern is partly for the safety of those holding the H-2A visas, but also for families who H-2A visa holders are sometimes placed with. Multiple people are often placed into a unit that should only house one family. Instead, a family is in one bedroom and multiple single males are in the other bedroom. This could be a family with a mother and a father or a single mother with children. These are not people who know each other, so this is a safety issue on multiple levels. Understanding that the employer needs to provide housing, her question would be, what is the understanding of what that housing should provide to the worker and for the safety of people already residing there? An additional concern she raises is that recently some housing options for agricultural workers who are local in the Linden community have started being saved for summer migrant workers and H-2A visa holders. This limits housing for families who live and work in agricultural work year-round. As the units empty, they are left empty until the summer, which can leave a family who works year-round searching for housing. A third point she raises is that in a community where agricultural work is central, limited affordable housing for the employees, for farm workers, creates a hardship. Often students who are stably housed and in school in the Linden School District or adjacent districts need to move. Sometimes they need to move out of the area, but often they are doubled up with other families who are unable to afford housing on their own. She knows of situations where a family of 6 is living in one bedroom and other families are living in each other room in the unit, sharing one kitchen and one bathroom. Her overall concern is how does the H-2A visa protect and support the visa holder and the individuals already working in the community, not just supporting the employers. So that is the extent of what Margaret submitted to us and asked us to share with the committee today.
Excellent, thank you. Would you be able to email those bullet points to Ms. Carlson?
Yes, we could follow up with Ms. Carlson with those with a written copy.
Thank you. It is most helpful to be able to have that information when we are investigating.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else who would like to make a public comment? All right, hearing none, I think we are ready to move to the next slide, which is probably, yes, our next meeting will be again on Zoom, Thursday, July 16th, 9 to noon. Perfect. So yeah, everyone have an excellent beginning to your summer. Please be safe. All the good things. I could echo the natural resources and parks social media managers and say, you know, enjoy the weekend, but don't burn the state down, please. I don't know. I'm just going to stop speaking. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Joy.